Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King 2, and today I'm going to be giving you part 11 of What If Naruto Was a One-of-a-Kind Prodigy. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual, share this to all of your friends in social media platform, and also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was a Perfect Experiment over on Anime King 3, and enjoy that guys. And also, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Was an Alien Hybrid over an Anime King, and enjoy that guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking about to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what is to begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last spot we left off, Tsunade spoke to Konan once again. She wouldn't apologize even though her actions were a bit rushed. But as she spoke to Konan, as Naruto was surprised and Konan revealed that she had wiped away the hidden rain. As he was surprised, he knew that she was strong, but this was intriguing. The woman broke down as Tsunade hugged her. As she broke down right on Tsunade, she apologized afterward for breaking down like that. But Tsunade shrugged it off as she got to work on healing her, as Naruto let them be, and he made his way. As he returned back to his throne. Once Tsunade was done, she returned as Konan would be fine. She just needs some time to rest now. Tsunade told him that she will be going towards the border of the sand and taking care of the stone ninjas. As Naruto told her to be careful and if she got into any trouble, remember, use a seal. As she promised that she will be careful seeing how serious he was. So with that, she headed back to Konoha, as she informed the village of what was going on. She wasn't taking the request or anything, she was just telling him to be courteous. With that, she took Gurren along with her, as she told Gurren that this was a chance to prove herself to Naruto, as Gurren was gonna do that. The both of them made their way. When they finally arrived, they saw the whole bunch of stone ninjas. Tsunade revealed something she's been hiding for a long time now. The Mokiton, the same as her grandfather. The stone ninjas were taken aback by this new onslaught. The Mokiton mix with her Sosei seal. The woman was virtually unstoppable as she stomped through them like they were nothing. As Gurren joined the fray as well, it was a slaughter. Meanwhile, as Naruto and Genji made their way, as they arrived at Taki, as Naruto got food, as he had the man teleport her away. But Naruto had already told Shibuki that he'd be taking food, as they decided to clash against him. As Naruto floated up in the air, using wind to steady him, as he created a Rasengan as he made it bigger, bigger and bigger, before he compressed it to the point where it started to shake his entire being, as he never realized how much chakra he was exerting for this. Testing his jutsus on the field was a rather stupid move, as Naruto dropped it. He was gonna fall as well, but he teleported the higher shin, as the place went white. A week later, as Naruto was disappointed when he woke up, as Tsunade was there, he was disappointed himself that he woke up a week later after that technique. But Tsunade told him that he didn't just destroy Taki, he wiped away the country. Not Taki, he wiped away the entire country. Someone could literally walk from Kumo and came straight to Konoha. There was no turn around or anything, they could just walk straight, as Naruto obliterated the line between. The rumors spread like crazy as people thought that this was the Akatsuki going after the Jinchurikis, as they had the Uzumaki spreading the word that this was the king of Uza doing this. After he was recovered, Naruto moved once again as he headed towards the sand as he went to speak to Gaara. So yeah guys, so basically as we left off, you guys can switch across the play check to for yourself. So just to begin this new episode, a random Sand Shinobi opened the door, as Naruto dipped his head as thanks. As he strode in, his eyes glanced around the office with a raised eyebrow. He wasn't all that surprised. This was Gaara's office after all. The lack of any personal items was to be expected. Gaara was reading through a document. There was a blank look on his face as he sighed. As he pushed the document away, Gaara looked up as he looked at one of his closest friends. A ghost of a smile appeared on his face as he rose from his chair and he offered his hand. Naruto, my friend, welcome to the Sun. My sister accompanied you, yes? Naruto slowly approached his friend as a small smile came on his face. I enjoyed amusing myself with her short temper. She has not changed all that much, said Naruto, as he stepped up towards Gaara and took his hand. Yes, Temari can certainly be a handful. Please sit. I'm sure that you're here to speak about many things. As Naruto heard the slight shift in Gaara's voice, he nodded as he sat down, as Gaara sat back down as well. The room was silent for several seconds, until Naruto spoke. Auntie Tsunade made a statement. Said Naruto. It was a rather rhetorical question. Gaara leaned back in his chair, as he went silent for several moments, before he finally spoke. Her actions were surprising, and not so at the same time. Being in the position I'm in, and knowing the relationship between the two of you, I need answers, and you have them. Naruto nodded as he shifted in his seat. Auntie Tsunade has always been a woman who believed in action first. A situation that can be solved with violence or force is a path that she will always take first. She does not believe that talks of peace are feasible. I do not disagree with her in that regard. One would think after spending so much time with Jiraiya that he would be swayed into his beliefs and dreams, said Gaara. As Naruto scoffed, Jiraiya is a naive fool. He believed in peace among shinobis, but he turned a blind eye to the darker practice of the elemental nation. The practice of using jinjulkis, Gaara said almost instantly. Yes, it is an ethical crime against humanity, and the world seems to ignore how truly wrong it is. And I've grown tired of these practices, said Naruto, as he crossed his arms. Gaara did not respond to his statement, but she agreed with his friend's words. No one but a Jinjulke understands how hard it was to be a Jinjulke. No one wants to be a sacrifice or a scapegoat or a deterrent for the rest of their life. It was unreasonable. It sounds like you have plans, Gaara said. In my position, I am privy to a lot of knowledge about the inner workings of each major village and the rumors that circulate around each of them. Rumors of the King of Uza that have been drifting around. I consider you my brother, Naruto. I speak to you right now as Gaara of the Sun, not the Kazekage of the Sun, not as a shinobi, but a close, dear friend. Are you affiliated with this title? Naruto's eyes opened as he looked directly into Gaara's own. He was silent for several moments before he finally spoke. I am indeed affiliated with this title, he said. Gaara blinked several times in silence, before he slowly nodded his head, as Naruto neither confirmed or denied if he was the King of Uza, but Gaara already suspected that this would be the outcome. This was an interesting dynamic, considering that he was a shinobi for Konoha. But Gaara was aware that Naruto did not fall in love for Konoha, not even a bit. Despite his pain of his younger life, Gaara loved the Sun, but him and Naruto were not the same. He had siblings that cared for him, even through his psychotic phase. But Naruto had no one. He had no crutch to fall back on, no sense of normality. It wasn't until Tsunade entered the picture that he finally have someone to lean on. What exactly are you planning? Asked Naruto raised an eyebrow, before he shrugged his shoulders. I seek change. This world has been stagnant for far too long. Naruto did not elaborate any further, but Gaara did not expect him to do so anyway. He was not going to get any solid answers from the team, but it was enough for him to draw his own conclusions. Being affiliated with the likes of the King of Uza is interesting. I've heard whispers about this individual being responsible for the destruction and disappearance of an entire country. Many people blame the Akatsuki, but I know better. As powerful as they might be, I don't believe that any of them has the capability to don such a task. Naruto once again shrugged his shoulders as he diverted any true information. The Akatsuki won't be around for much longer. Auntie Tsunade wished to hunt them now that they have lost so many powerful members. As Gaara saw what Naruto was doing, he was pushing the big subject to the side and going off to minor things. Gaara decided to come out and ask what he was thinking. Will the Sun be affected by your actions? As Naruto narrowed his eyes. So long as you and I remain friends, he said, the stand will be fine. There was a lot of weight to interrupt what Naruto just said, and not all of them were very pleasing, but Naruto gave him a straightforward answer. While Guard didn't want to take such statement at face value, he had no other option. He would just place his trust into the team, like he has done several times before. It was all that he could do now. Time skip. As beautiful as the sun can be, I'm happy that I'm no longer in the sun, said Genji as he glanced towards his king. As Naruto placed his hands in his pockets, it's a rough village, that's for sure. They were walking through the palace after leaving the sand, and teleporting back to Ozu to rest. The summit was not for another few days, and Naruto will use the time to rest. As Naruto tapped Genji's chest, the man nodded as he disappeared. As Naruto made his way towards his personal quarters, you are growing more tired than usual, said Kurama. It has been happening recently. I am clueless to what is happening. As Naruto turned to see Enai, in the corner of his room as she was standing completely still. She acknowledged him with a slight bow, and then she waved. She made several gestures with her hand, before she tore like a small child. As Naruto sighed heavily as he removed his shirt. I will be fine, he said. But she grabbed his hand and pulled him. As Naruto sighed, this is completely unnecessary, Enai, he said, as she pushed open the bathroom. As she presented, the artist steaming bath waiting for him. As Naruto looked towards her, he didn't know why he went along with her antics. Well, he knew why. Probably it was because it made her happy. And after what she's went through, she deserved all the happiness, carrying all those struggles and burden on her shoulders at such a young age. Older than him she may be, but she possessed the mind of a young child as Naruto reached up and patted her on the head. She then turned around as Naruto removed his rest of his clothes. As he entered his bath, she stood there waiting for his acknowledgement for her to turn back around. As he hummed in acknowledgement, she turned back to see him resting. As she moved behind him, Enai was the only individual besides Tsunade that he would even allow in his personal quarters. Their relationship was strange, but he had grown used to her quirks a long time ago. She annoyed him to no end, but as long as she was happy he would indulge her. How much more time do you think it would take until I'm back to 100%? As Enai started to watch his hair. Tomorrow at least. The end of the week at most. I believe you will be fine by time the summit comes around. Have you been able to locate the source of the problem, Kurama? Naruto asked as he closed his eyes. Kurama went quiet for several seconds. He then finally responded, your body has not grown accustomed to the influx of power that it has obtained in such short amount of time. Pulling that stunt didn't help either, but I do not disagree with it either. Of course you don't, said Naruto with a small scoff. Your appetite for destruction is one that can never be quenched. Kurama released a dark chuckle. You know me so well, he said, as Naruto did not respond as he leaned back. As Enai completed her duties that the queen had tasked her with. The next few days that were to come were going to be extremely tiring. He just wanted to get it over with. Time skip. Enai hummed as she skipped, making her way towards the king's room. As her curly hair bounced as she skipped, the queen had been very serious about Naruto being confined to his quarters. Enai was just happy she get to spend time with him. He was always so nice, even when she messed up certain orders or got lost in her train of thought. He was always so patient with her. She came to a stop just outside his personal quarters. She bounced in the ball of her heels as she pressed her hand against the door and pulsed her chakra. As there were several seals that went off, the door clicked as she went inside quietly. She moved her room as she made her way towards Naruto's position. She proceeded to shake him lightly to wake him up. She frowned as he started to smack her hand away. She pouted as she started to shake him with more vigor, but the response was the same as he smacked her hand away. As he rolled away from her and pulled the blankets over his body, she started to pull on the blanket, but it was not working. She smirked as she got onto his bed, as she then stood over him as he jumped. As she was airborne for about 2 seconds, as gravity started to pull her down. As Naruto's eyes snapped open, as he lurched forward on instinct, his hand finding perch on Enai's abdomen, as a Harashin kunai lurched in his hand. The blade was a centimeter away from her kidney, as both Uzumakis looked at each other. Enai, he said, as she tilted her head with a small smile. Why did you jump on me? As she made motions with her hand. Retsu, But Naruto was cut off as she made some grunts. Yes, yes, he said. I apologize for not using her actual name, and I. She nodded her head with a smile. Please get off me now, he said. I'm awake. She looked down towards his hand. Before she looked up, she then looked back down towards his hand, and she looked up. Naruto sighed as he reached as he started to pat her head. As she swayed from side to side, he stopped patting after a while as he gently moved her off his body. As Naruto caught up as he rolled his neck. As Enai simply watched him with child curiosity. Enai said, Naruto, go fetch me Ichi. It's time I hunt down the leader of the Akatsuki. As she disappeared after a while, as Naruto turned towards where she once was. As he stretched, his muscles popping. It finally dawned on you, did it? As Naruto rolled his neck. Disagreeing would make me a liar. I will choose not to acknowledge it. As Kurama released a dark chuckle. That woman holds the one thing that the imposter desire. As Naruto got his shirt and placed it on, using Konan as bait was something I never originally planned. The thought had never truly registered. Oh? And why is that? She placed her trust in me, said Naruto as he buttoned up his shirt. And I made a promise to her. I do not abuse those who I consider important to my goals. The fox was silent for several seconds before it scoffed. You do not need Konan. I do not need a lot of things, but I have them. Placing values in others is an intricate part of my plan. I cannot do everything alone. You are growing, said Kurama. As Naruto stepped towards the balcony, his eyes looking at several of the buildings. He had done so much work in trying to restore Uzu. Despite his efforts and work, it still wasn't enough. Uzu was home to about 200 Uzumakis, most of them being your everyday civilian. There was only a handful of combat-ready soldiers. Should Uzu go to war, it would most likely fall. The only individuals capable of defending the island was he, his personal guards, and a handful of others. Ichi, Enai, San, and Yan. They were the protectors of Uzu when he was away from the island. The four of them was a force to be reckoned with. After all, two of the members were capable of killing him. If they tried hard enough, he shook his head at that thought. Their loyalty was unquestionable, and he had done his effort to earn it. The concept of betrayal within the Uzumakis was non-existent. It wouldn't do well to have individuals try to take the throne. He didn't feel like killing families so soon, after bringing them together. But he would do so if it had to come to it. As he made his way towards the door, and opened it as he came face to face with Ichi. While faced the navel, the woman was incredibly tall. As Naruto craned his neck up and looked into her eyes. As she shifted a bit. What is her exact height, Ichi? She averted her gaze as she looked towards the wall, her hand clasping behind her back. 7 feet, Your Majesty. He looked towards Ichi, before he nodded his head. As he strode past her, the two Uzumakis walked in silence, until he came at the door. As Naruto knocked several times, there was movement, and locks being undone. As Naruto reached up as he yawned, covering his mouth, as Ichi noticed that the king had been showing signs of fatigue and exhaustion ever since gaining full access of Kurama's chakra. She was more concerned than worried about Naruto when it came to his health. The queen had informed them that he would be fine with some more rest. The problem there was, their plans were being rushed. That wasn't really a bad thing, but it would cause problems in the future if it wasn't dealt with correctly. Ichi was confident everything would turn out okay, but just to be safe, she would speak her mind. Naruto needed insight from others, or he would continue doing things as they were. Permission to speak freely, Your Majesty. And she looked towards her king, who blinked. I am sure that you're already aware, but I wish to inquire about your health. At his silence, she continued to speak. It is no secret that you have been showing signs of exhaustion. You have done so much for Uzu, but there are circumstances which your health must be the main focus. The door opened up though, as Konan was there, looking a bit tired. She rubbed her eyes as she took notice of the two Uzumakis in front of her door. She was not able to tell what they wanted, as Naruto responded to the Amazonian woman beside him. You as well, Ichi, said Naruto. Everyone has been saying the same thing. Perhaps I should listen. I apologize, my king. Do not mistake our actions of having doubt in your ability. We are just concerned. There's no need to shoulder all of the weight on your own. Is this not why you create the personal guard? To handle the more tedious part of the plan, she said. As Naruto sighed. Yes, he said and nodded. When you work so hard to achieve something as grand as this, you wish to see your investment pays out. But this is something I need to do, Ichi. After we kill Obito, I promise, I'll take things slower. Is that suitable? She had a pleased expression on her face. Yes. Yes, dear Majesty. The Queen will be very pleased to hear that. As Naruto shook his head, this was likely Tsunade's doing, having Ichi of all people to convince him to slow down. She was the only member of personal guard that was non-confrontational. She'd rather take the path of least resistance, and there was nothing wrong with that. For her to seek him out to speak about his personal health was rather surprising. She had on a mask of a rough persona and a ruthless leader, but she was a rather meek woman. It was a conundrum, if you thought about it, with her height and her strength. For her to be shy, sometimes the world made no sense. As Naruto looked towards Konan, who was looking at him, as he looked down towards her body, get dressed. We're getting rid of Obito for good. I'm sure this is something that will please you. I'll be waiting for you in the throne room so we can discuss the situation in more detail. You will play an important part in his death. Failure is not an option, Konan. Have said his piece, Naruto left. As Konan quickly got dressed, this was her chance to get rid of the one person she hated with every fiber of her being, the man that had caused everything to be taken away from her. She did not care how he died, as long as she played a part in it, she would be happy. Konan was finally able to cope with Nagato's death and the actions that she took regarding the hidden rain. While she was still filled with guilt about destroying her old home, she had at least accepted the terms that it was better that the hidden rain was no longer standing. As she undressed and slipped into the shower, the hidden rain was a place built up on the corpses of different ninjas from other nations, where they came to war and battle. The hidden rain was a battleground through and through, before it was stopped in the past. She had turned it all into dust. She knew that one day she would pay for her transgressions, and she understood that. It made her understand what it meant to be burdened with power. She had never been one to boast about her strength or talent. She was a humble woman through and through. But there was something about knowing how powerful you were. To know that you could crush any obstacles in your path. To make someone follow you with a single glance. Did she enjoy this feeling? Not necessarily. But she now understood why people like Nagato and Naruto had gained a taste of it. It was exhilarating being in a situation where you had complete control over. Power was certainly an addictive drug. As she stepped under the shower, she thought, she has been here many nights before. How was she able to cope at first? It was hard. How was people like Nagato and Naruto able to cope with the things that they done? Despite what he said, Nagato was still a human. As according to Tsunade, Naruto as well, he did not mean to destroy the entire country. He just wanted to destroy Take. She did not understand him, or would say that she would even begin to understand someone like him. But she wondered how was he dealing with it all. She really did not know. Despite the both of them being incredibly powerful though, there was one thing that separated them. Naruto would give you a choice. Nagato would just wipe everyone out of his path, but Naruto, he would give you a choice. After all that he has done for her, she knew that he could have just taken Nagato's eyes. At that moment she was nothing compared to him. She was like a mere ant, standing in front of a deity, a god. Her chakra was fried. She had no power to fight if he wished. He could have broken her and take everything away from her, and then end her life. But the lengths that he went through, allowing her to live, allowing her to walk around also with little civilians, and help to aid her in her training, it made her question whether he was as bad as she once assumed. On paper, he was an absolute monster, slaughtering anyone that go against what he said, to prove that he will do it. But seeing and interacting with a monster was completely two different things. She shook her head as she toweled off, as she got dressed, as she recreated her origami flower and placed it in her hair. She arrived to see a maskless Genji, who kneeled in front of the king, waiting for his orders. They were speaking to one another. She decided to remain quiet for now and let them talk. How long? Genji was silent for 3 seconds. Before he responded, 3 days, he said. I doubt. It will take longer than that. As Naruto rested his cheek against his knuckles, as he stared at Genji, he was silent for several moments before he made a small gesture with his hand. Say to whether Karen succeeds. I want results, and she's the only one that can provide them. Genji nodded. Of course, Your Majesty, he said. As Naruto gazed and turned towards Konan, as he gestured for her to come. As she did. As she walked and stopped right beside Genji. I will cut right to it. I can see that you're eager for this opportunity, Konan. As Naruto gazed looked towards her hands. Her hands were shaking with anticipation. The plan is rather simple. You will be bait. Konan blinked several times as she looked toward Genji, who had a rather amused expression. Her gaze went back to Naruto, as she remained silent. Truthfully, I wanted a bigger reaction, but your hate for Obito possibly run deeper than my own, and he was responsible for the events that led to my suffering. As she saw a small smirk trying to fester on his face, but it was squashed down. I enjoy your presence, Konan. As Genji released an amused chuckle. Such words would incite the wrath of the queen, he said. His Majesty really walks a dangerous line. As Naruto ignored Genji, Obito and Zetsu are no doubt searching for any slim chance that you're still alive. The only thing that they can probably come up with is that you're the one that is responsible for Nagato's death. They must be getting antsy. The Rinnegan is truly important. The moment you popped up on their radar, they will come to find you. It has been nearly a month since I made Obito retreat. They have not moved. He is certainly aware of the fact that he cannot beat me. The Harasshin makes him nervous, just as it did for my father. As Konan just nodded, the Harasshin was, well, the fort was able to stop an entire war by using that technique. I assume that Genji will be with me, she said, as she glanced towards the man. His expertise will spell Obito's death, I assume. As the man chuckled shortly, I am but a humble swordsman, Konan. You give me too much credit. She glanced toward Genji. He was definitely not just a humble swordsman. He was a monster, just like Naruto was. Ignore his antics. He will shadow over you. Should he fail, which I doubt will happen, I will appear with San. Regardless of what happens, Obito will die the second he tried to make contact with you. Konan nodded. And what of Zetsu? He could potentially come to Obito's aid. As Naruto went silent for several seconds before he spoke. Does Zetsu possess chakra? And can he use Sensen? As Konan nodded, as Naruto shrugged, then we killed two birds with one stone. Nothing can hide from Sage Mode. We are banking this entire plan on Obito actually showing up. What will say that he do? And that Zetsu will appear as well, asked Konan. You disappear for an entire month after Nagato's mysterious death, and they have not been able to track you at all. Obito is a man that is fueled by his emotions. Not only have I killed several members with ease, but I have also insulted them in front of his face. He was a leader pulling the strings from the shadows, swaying Nagato to fulfill his foolish goal for peace. He has spent half of his life trying to do so, only to have everything come crashing down within a month. Do you really think that you will be acting rational after this? Konan thought about it, and it really made sense. He must be angry, and for her to just pop back up, he would definitely come to her to see what she had. I see that you're starting to understand, said Naruto. Here, take this. As he tossed, she caught the three-pronged kunai. If the plan goes awry, I will appear. If someone other than Obito or Zetsu appear, I will appear. I am not undermining your talent or abilities, but I will not risk them escaping. I do not want neither of them having the knowledge that you're aiding us. As Konan nodded, she turned towards Genji. I will teleport you both towards the stone border. As Naruto got up, Genji watched over you from afar. When Obito appeared, he will strike. As Naruto placed a hand on both of their shoulders, Genji vanished. Konan was confused as she was not moving. As Naruto looked at her, be safe. There is no reason to take unnecessary risk. Konan blinked at the statement before she responded to a raised eyebrow. And getting rid of an entire country was not unnecessary risk. As Naruto smiled this time, it did not disappear. I indeed enjoy your presence, he said. As she was gone in a yellow flash, he moved back towards the throne. Time skip. As Konan stable herself. Eventually, you'll get used to it. Weaker people would have been emptying their stomach by now. It's quite amusing to see. She glanced towards Genji, before shifting her direction towards the location of the hidden rain. She inhaled, as she rolled her shoulders before she exhaled. Her hands were shaking, and nothing was even happening. Her rage for Obito knew no bounds. His Majesty was correct about your hate for the man. I really glad I'm not him at the moment. As Genji vanished, as he watched her from the shadows, She took several more breaths. Once she was calm, she took off in speed towards the hidden rain. 3 hours passed as he was now walking. She had kept her mind completely blank, so that it would not cause any unnecessary problems. It would do her no good to be plagued with those depressing thoughts. Another 30 minutes passed by as she looked forward. The dark clouds that once plagued the nation were no longer there. The all-encompassing rain that would drench the entire place was now nowhere to be seen. As she reached the edge of the crater that the hidden rain now rested in, her eyes looked down in sadness. But if she was being fully, 100% honest, this was better than the original. The hidden rain was home for the wicked, the heartless, the monsters. And as she looked at the aftermath, thinking about the past as well, she did not regret her actions at all. She held her hand out as paper started to shed from her skin, as they formed into a bouquet of flowers. As she leaned down and placed on the ground, she dropped to her knees afterwards. As she started to pray for the innocent lives, the ones that she had snuffed out, she wouldn't ask for their forgiveness. She did not truly deserve it anyway. But she prayed that they will find solace in their deaths. A single tear rolled on her cheek as they dropped on the bouquet of flowers. As she just stared out in the crater, she wasn't sure how long she was staring, but it had to have been several hours. As she sensed him, she turned towards a vortex that was 10 feet away from her. She had to physically hold herself back from attacking the man as he stepped out of his dimension. That lone Sharingan looking at her like she was some kind of child. Such hostility. It is impressive, but your hate is nothing to me. Her teeth grind together as she glared at Obito. Her chakra started to leak out as the pressure in the air started to increase around them. Even now this coward believed himself to stand over her. His arrogance knew no bounds. Where is his body? His tone was level and calm despite the situation. Oh, do you not have the rain gun anymore? She said. She took great satisfaction as she saw the slight movement of his body tensing. I said, where is his body? I have no problem ripping you limb from limb to get what I want. You will have negative eyes over my dead body, she said. Obito appeared in front of her in an instant, his hand reaching out towards her throat. But instead of grabbing her, a blade ripped through his body. His confusion lasted for a split second, as he tried using Kamui to phase right through the injury. But something was wrong. He could not mold his chakra or even move his body. He looked towards her blood-stained face, as he saw that wicked grin in her eye. His Sharingan eye glanced downwards towards the katana sticking out of his chest. What was even happening? Why couldn't he move? Why was his Kamui not activating? Who the hell was even behind him? He had swept the area and there was no one. So who the hell was this even now? Because he could not see the person, he could not feel a person at all. It was like no one was there, yet he was being stabbed. For a second, I was afraid that I'll be too slow, Konan-san, said Genji, as his blade was enveloped in a black layer of chakra. The blade of Muramasa is an interesting weapon, wouldn't you say, Obito-san? As Genji rotated his blade, as Obito coughed up blood, Konan ripped off his mask, as she spat right on his face. As Genji raised her eyebrow in surprise, she truly hated this man. Perhaps the king needed to be here, so that she would think more rationally, just to be safe. A pulse of chocolate came from Genji. It didn't take a second as Naruto arrived, along with San. As San went through Hansen and placed a barrier up, no one could leave. As Naruto looked around, his eyes focused on Genji, Konan, and Obito. He saw the amount of rage and hate in Konan's eyes. It was boiling, to the point of exploding, as Naruto stepped forward and looked directly in her eyes. He then nodded, as he turned and placed a seal on Obito's chest. It flashed before it just fused with his body. He's yours to do as you please, Konan. Your hate for him even surpassed my own. As Naruto walked away, he stopped and slammed his foot on the ground as a rock formation formed. As he sat down, he would have preferred if Zetsu had appeared as well, so that he could kill two birds with one stone, but that was not the case here. As Naruto ignored the screams of Obito, as Konan started to carve him with her papers, he didn't take her for a vengeful woman, but this was the man that had practically ruined her entire life. He rested his cheek against his fist, as he droned with the torture that was happening in front of him. Soon. So very soon. The Kage Summit was next on his list. Know that Obito was no longer around to interfere with his plans. He could focus on gathering the Bijus. While it was annoying that Zetsu still roamed around, he was no match for him or his followers, and Tsunade would be thrilled. He should spend some more time with her. While she wouldn't be vocal about it, he was sure that she was feeling a bit neglected, because he was focusing so much on his plans. He would make something special for her. Yes, she deserved it after all. Time skip. The screams of pain had stopped a few hours ago, but they were still, flesh being torn apart and stabbed. As Naruto and his two members watch, as Konan dismembered Obito's body, Genji had been amused at the first couple of minutes, but now it was getting slightly worrisome. Konan had been at this for, he looked up, 7 hours now. Surely, she would stop soon, right? As she continued to dismember and disfigure his body in brutal ways, San glanced towards his leader. My king, should we stop her? The masked Uzumaki spoke with a soft tone as he gazed towards Konan. As Naruto opened his eyes, "It is getting late," he said, as he pulled himself up and made his way towards Konan. "My Harish and Konans have yet to be stained like my father's, but you are getting very close." Konan paused, looking down towards a weapon that was soaked in blood. As she dropped it, she then focused on Naruto. As she looked into his eyes, why? As Naruto looked at her, she was painted in blood. As Naruto unbuttoned his overshirt, as he slipped it off, as he started to wipe the blood off her face, his shirt started to stain instantly, due to the amount of blood on her face. Like a helpless baby, she sat there, as she waited for him to finish what he had started. She didn't bother pulling away. Her body ached from the hours and hours of torture that she afflicted. As Naruto balled the shirt up and threw it to the side, while her body was still painted in blood, at least her face was recognizable now. "How do you feel, Konan?" How did she feel? She felt like absolute shit. Where was the sense of acknowledgement? Where was the happiness? The feeling of killing the man that was responsible for her suffering. She just killed the man that ruined her entire life. The man that brainwashed one of her closest friends. The man that had completely changed Akatsuki, real goal. The man that ruined everything. Why wasn't she happy? Why? Tears started to well in her eyes. Why she screamed? She felt a pair of arms wrapped around her. As she tried to push back, she wanted to be angry. She wanted to be furious. She didn't want to be consoled. She wanted to go home. As she wrapped her arms around him, as her head rested in his chest, as he held on to her, she cried. As Naruto looked down, revenge. It was such a fickle thing. Konan had hated Obito from the very beginning. Naruto wondered if this is how Sasuke would have felt if he was truly able to kill Itachi. Would he be happy to slay the man that caused him such pain and sorrow? Naruto knew what revenge did to people, how it changed them, how it taunted them, how it suffocated them. He didn't wish to follow in the footsteps of those who became consumed in their quest for vengeance. "It's getting late," he said. "Come, let us get you cleaned up." She did not respond though as he shifted his body and looked. She had fallen asleep. Great. He shifted her as he put one arm under her leg as he lifted her up. "Come, we're heading back to Uzu," he said. Time skip. The door of the throne room was pushed open as Kara stepped inside. As she looked towards her king that was sitting on his throne, she bowed down. As she spoke, "We have a great problem." Several seconds passed by as her gaze remained on the floor. Sweat started to form on her forehead as she felt his gaze focusing directly on her. She forced her body to not flinch. As he spoke, "Repeat your statement." "We have a problem, my king," she said, as she kept herself calm. "What is this problem that we have?" "I formed the Uzumaki personal guard for a reason," he said, as she licked her lips. "Inai has informed me that Uzu might be compromised." There was silence, and that was more terrifying than anything else. Maybe compromise? She was surprised. His voice sounded so nonchalant. "My king?" As he stepped down from his throne, "In what way has Uzu been compromised? If Inai told you this information, then she has either solved the problem, or she's going to." As Naruto gestured for her to rise, as she wiped the sweat off her brow, she believed that we're in possession of a traitor. It happened so instant his eyes turned red. Black slates. His chakra was released as it slammed into the palace with so much force she couldn't breathe. It didn't take a second as Yan and the others appeared in the throne room. The three masked Uzumakis stare at their leader before glancing towards Kara. Orange pigment formed around Naruto's eyes as he spread his senses throughout all of Uzu, as he sensed every single individual. Kurama, who is it? Said Naruto. You will need to run all of them up. Sensing the negativity is the easy part. Pinpointing it after the fact is impossible. I have no problem questioning every single Uzumaki on this damn island. The amount of work I've done for this village and its people, they will be made an example of. As he orders guards to gather every single Uzumaki, they disappear as they wait to do their tasks. As Naruto's eyes land on Kara, Speak will stand after every Uzumaki has been questioned. If the traitor leave the island, they will be hunted down. Kara bowed as she went off to aid the others in their tasks. As Naruto turned, his fist struck one of the pillars as it completely shattered into a million pieces. He clenched his fist so tight blood started to leak on the pristine marble floors. His teeth pulled back in a vicious snarl as he punched through two more pillars. Why? Why? A traitor? Someone had the audacity to betray him of all people. He had rebuilt this entire island from the ground up. He had put his blood, sweat and dreams into Uzu, and someone believed they could destroy it. Absolutely not. He gathered all these people. He restored their home. He did it. He did it all. Uzu only existed because of him. His chakra spread through the entire island. Every Uzumaki cringed. You need to calm down, Naruto. This anger is blinding you. Breathe. As Naruto took several breaths, as he listened to his partner, because Kurama was right. He had to be the leader of Uzu first, even though he wanted to work this anger out. As he massaged his temples, as he made his way towards his throne, he knew that she was here, but he ignored her. As he looked towards nothing. Naruto, what is happening? He acknowledged Konan without looking at her. We have a traitor. She raised the eyebrow. Traitor? In Uzu? Who would even think of betraying Naruto? The Uzumakis were people who believe in family above all else. Everything that Uzumaki did was for the betterment of their people. Forsaking your family in Uzu was like betraying your god. It just didn't happen. Have you betrayed Uzu, Konan? He asked. Konan blinked as she shook her head. I have not. As Naruto closed his eyes, I will enjoy finding this traitor, he said. Time skip. Konoha. Tsunade rolled her eyes for the 20th time as she listened on. As Jiraiya spoke about how she dealt with the stone forces, the man had been speaking for about an hour, and truth be told she has been zoning out of the conversation. Something about revealing the Mokidan, and how the stone will demand some form of compensation, and yada yada yada. But she truly did not care if Unki had a problem. He could solve it with his fists, the old bastard. As old as he might be, was still a shinobi. And shinobis dealt with their problems head on. Well, she did at least. But she wasn't really a normal shinobi to begin with. Haim, are you listening to me? Jiraiya's face was twisted in frustration, and his tone was off one of annoyance. Tsunade waved her hand in a so-so gesture. Jiraiya sighed and massaged his temples. Why do I even bother? If Unki has a problem, he can say it to my face, she said, as she looked at her nails. I really don't care what that old bastard has to say. A small smirk came on her face, as she looked into Jiraiya's eyes. Maybe I want to go to war with the hidden stone. Has that thought ever crossed your mind, huh? The vibe of the room shifted, as both of them looked towards each other, without a sound. The thought actually crossed his mind, several times in fact. He could understand to some degree why she would want war. But she had lived through several of them. Why would you want to experience it once again? It was completely asinine and insane. They continued the steering contest before. They were interrupted by a yellow flash. As the yellow flash brought forward so much rage that spread through the entire village. Jiraiya felt his insides curl. Just looking at the blonde was making his stomach turn and twist. As Naruto opened his eyes, blood red, animalistic and wild. He should probably calm down. There was no reason to make a scene. As Naruto took a breath, his eyes returned back to normal. Jiraiya-sensei, it has Been a while. As Jiraiya took a while to calm his heart, the wave of anger was just insane. I'm surprised that you even spoke to me first, kid, said Jiraiya. As Naruto placed his hands in his pockets, I'm not so petty to disregard someone that went out of their way to teach me and help me understand life in various circumstances. While I will never forgive you for not doing what was told of you, I can be mature and move past it. That was then, and this is now. Perhaps one day I will come to regret it when I'm truly older. Who knows? You would accept my apology, Jiraiya said. As Naruto stepped behind Tsunade as he shrugged, apologies are nothing more than golden plates of words that hold zero value. I don't care if you apologize or not. Your actions is what make you the man that you are. As he started to massage her shoulder, Tsunade released a low sigh at his touch. Naruto-kun, she said, what brings you here? And why are you so angry? Annoyances that I will soon deal with, he said. Tsunade was silent for several seconds as she leaned into the teen touch. Jiraiya leaned up against one of the walls. It's been a while since I even seen you, Naruto. People don't even see you anymore. If I wish to be found, then I will be. You know this more than anyone, Sensei. Jiraiya nodded. Even while in sage mode, you were invisible. An impressive feat. If I wish to be found, then I will. As of now, I can be wherever I want, the Harashin. I will see you at home later tonight, Auntie Tsunade, said Naruto, as he was not in the mood to be interrogated for information, as he could see where this path was being led down to. As Naruto stared directly into Jiraiya's eyes, as he leaned down and kissed Tsunade on the cheek, before he flashed away. She opened her eyes and looked towards Jiraiya. Must you be so annoying? Why does everything have to be 20 questions with you? Have you ever tried to have a normal conversation with Naruto? One that does not revolve around the philosophy of war and women. He gave her a perplexed stare. He just looked at her. As that annoyed her even more. You do realize that Naruto is not Minato, correct? As similar as they might look, they are completely different in every regard. You need to understand that by now. Now get out before I physically kick you, what she said. As Jiraiya left, Tsunade reached behind her. She removed the note. Then Naruto left. Her eyes widened when she saw what was written on the note, as she crushed it. This day seemed to get more shittier and shittier as it went on. But guys, will be in subscribe right here. If you want the next part to do, like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on the bell notifications they posted. But I'm off now. See you guys soon. Peace.